Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the President traveled to Cleveland, Ohio, to speak on appointing Richard Cordray to lead the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which will protect families from predatory lenders. Spoke on a comprehensive review of our defense strategy, and the White House staff shared its New Year's resolutions.
Are you going to say go? Yeah. Okay.
That's December 30th to January 5th, or 2012, the annual resolutions edition.
It's going to be a good year.
On Tuesday, January 3rd, the first family was met by sub-freezing temperatures as they returned to Washington after the holidays. And White House staffers were ready with their New Year's resolutions.
And watch more West Wing Week.
I need to start working out a little bit more. I think I'm going to take up boxing.
Get back out on the tennis court.
Not eating as many donuts for breakfast and eating more vegetables for dinner.
To get a lot more sleep this year.
My New Year's resolution is to stop biting my nails.
Lose some weight, spend more time with my kids, never going to end a sentence with a preposition during the briefing. Those are my resolutions.
Running or total commitment to excellence?
Drink more water.
Smile more. Just smile more.
I think I'm going to try to be more understanding to my family and my friends and, you know, my partner to make it a better year for everyone.
Be more polite to people.
A little bit less judgmental in the new year.
Find a time every day to just reflect on the privilege of being here and just the sheer beauty around us.
Forbearance and virtue in thought, word, and deed.
In the name of doing better work, I think I'm going to spend less time in the office.
To cut back on my smoking habit, hopefully quit.
To join a gospel choir, get more into Twitter, and start a journal.
To never miss a Taco Wednesday, to go to the gym at least 3 times a week.
Just a good year for everyone.
Get out of Washington and spend time with folks like you.
On Wednesday, the President traveled to Cleveland, Ohio, to speak at Shaker Heights High School about his decision to appoint former Ohio Attorney General Richard Cordray to lead the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which protects consumers from dishonest lending practices. On the way to the school, the President stopped to meet with the Eason family, which was victimized by a predatory loan 10 years ago that nearly cost them their home. Moving forward, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau will be a watchdog for anyone who owns a mortgage, uses a credit card, or applies for a loan, protecting families like the Easons.
The Easons are good people. They're what America's all about. God bless you. They worked hard. They served their country. There you go. Thank you, man. They saved their money. They didn't live high on the hog. It's a modest house. They earned the right to retire with dignity and with respect. And they shouldn't have to worry about being tricked by somebody who's out to make a quick buck. And they need somebody who's going to stand up for them, and millions of Americans need somebody who's going to look out for their interests, and that person is Richard Cordray.
On Thursday, the President traveled to the Pentagon to deliver remarks on a comprehensive review of our defense strategy that was devised by the President with important input from America's civilian and uniformed military leadership and the administration's national security team, which will guide our budget priorities and decisions going forward.
So yes, our military will be leaner, but the world must know the United States is going to maintain our military superiority with armed forces that are agile, flexible, and ready for the full range of contingencies and threats.
Later, the President stopped by the Summer Jobs 2012 kickoff and was introduced by the Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan.
We have a special guest here who cares passionately about young people, who's worked in tough communities on the south side of Chicago, and his heart is in helping you be successful. Please give a warm round of applause to the President of the United States, President Obama.
This is going to be an all-hands-on-deck effort. We need everybody to step up. We've got 33 businesses and organizations and 4 agencies in my administration that have already committed to providing nearly 180,000 employment opportunities to America's youth. That's a commitment that we've already got in place.
To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
Welcome to West Wing Week.
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the President visited the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, welcomed this year's NBA champs, the Dallas Mavericks, addressed the EPA, announced a new Chief of Staff, and introduced the White House's insourcing initiative. That's January 6th to January 12th, or insourcing, bringing jobs back to America.
To America. You've heard of outsourcing? Well, these companies are insourcing.
On Friday, the president dropped by the offices of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and their newly appointed director, Richard Cordray.
When I meet Americans all across the country, or I read letters that I get every night, they really don't ask for much. They just want a fair shake. They just want a fair deal. And we have a chance to give it to them.
On Monday, the president welcomed the NBA champion Dallas Mavericks to the White House to honor the team in their 2011 NBA championship and to recognize the team's ongoing support for our men and women who serve in the military.
Last season, they called themselves the Bad News Bears because from the very beginning, nobody gave them much of a chance. People said that Jason Kidd was too old, and I will say that this is the first time I've been with some world champions who are my contemporaries.
Later, the president spoke to the White House press corps and announced that White House Chief of Staff Bill Daley would be succeeded by the current Office of Management and Budget Director, Jack Lew.
Chicago is only a phone call away, and I'm going to be using that phone number quite a bit. And here in Washington, I have every confidence that Jack will make sure that we don't miss a beat.
On Tuesday, the president went to the EPA headquarters to address the men and women of the agency and to thank them for their hard work protecting the air we breathe and the water we drink.
I do not buy the notion that we have to make a choice between having clean air and clean water and growing this economy in a robust way. I think that is a false debate.
On Wednesday, the president and vice president hosted an Insourcing American Jobs Forum in the East Room of the White House, focusing on the increasing trend of companies choosing to insource jobs and invest in the United States. They began the forum by holding a roundtable meeting in the Eisenhower Executive Office building with business leaders to discuss the benefits of investing in the United States and what more can be done to incentivize those companies that are looking to create American jobs.
I don't want America to be a nation that's primarily known for financial speculation and racking up debt buying stuff from other nations. I want us to be known for making and selling products all over the world stamped with three proud words, made in America. And we can make that happen.
Okay, folks, please stand by for the president.
All right, here's Coach.
On Thursday, the president called Coach Nick Saban of the University of Alabama football team to congratulate him on his team's championship season.
You're a heck of a coach, and you should take great pride in it.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm really proud of the players and the way they responded and the togetherness that we had as a team, and it was a special group to be around. And
you let them all know that the president watched the whole game, and you couldn't have been more impressed with him. And I'm looking forward to seeing him in the White House.
All right. Well, we look forward to coming to see you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Coach. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
The reason I root for this team is they're almost as old as me. Exactly. I mean, this is my contemporary.
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the president laid out a plan to consolidate 6 federal agencies into one unified department that will better support American businesses. Honored Martin Luther King Jr. Welcomed the Tuskegee Airmen, the King of Jordan, and the 2011 World Series champions to the White House, and traveled to the Magic Kingdom to unveil the latest We Can't Wait action to create jobs. That's January 13th to January 19th, or the time is always right to do what is right. On Friday, the president called on Congress to give him the authority to consolidate 6 federal agencies into one that would shrink federal bureaucracy, save taxpayer dollars, and better support the private sector enterprises that will lead the American economic recovery.
Right now, there are 6 departments and agencies focused primarily on business and trade in the federal government. In this case, 6 is not better than 1 because it produces redundancy and inefficiency. With the authority that I'm requesting today, we could consolidate them all into one department with one website, one phone number, one mission, helping American businesses succeed. That's a big idea.
Later, the President and First Lady welcomed the Tuskegee Airmen to the White House for a screening of the movie Red Tails.
We're going to be bringing in popcorn for everybody who didn't get popcorn.
On Monday, the first family headed to the Brown Education Campus in Washington, D.C. to mark Martin Luther King Jr. Day by participating in a community service project that included helping out with cleaning and painting, inside the lines, of course.
If you look at that speech talking about Dr. King as a drum major, all of us can be a drum major for service. You know, there's nobody who can't serve, nobody who can't help somebody else. And all the time it took to sand this ahead of time and stain it, you guys missed that part.
On Tuesday, the president convened his Council on Jobs and Competitiveness in the state dining room of the White House to talk to private sector leaders about policies that will create jobs in America and strengthen our economic recovery.
My legislative proposal would create a consolidation authority that would for the first time require that any reorganization proposal reduce the size of government and cut costs. Every one of the agencies in this government has been focused on how do they improve, get smarter, get better, get faster. I believe that we've made genuine progress in all these fronts. We would not have made this progress without this Jobs Council. And I think it will pay off in terms of solidifying this recovery and allowing us to move forward in a way where it actually translates into jobs.
That afternoon, the president welcomed King Abdullah II of Jordan to the White House.
The last time we met, the face of the region was very different. We consult closely with the Jordanians, and we value the advice and the thoughtful leadership that His Majesty provides.
Later, the President and First Lady welcomed the St. Louis Cardinals to the White House to honor the team, their 2011 World Series victory, and the First Lady's birthday.
When we first married, it was a little controversial that she was 20 years younger than me, but now it seems to have worked out okay.
Here we've got a couple of gifts for you and Mrs. Obama.
That's nice right there. There we go.
One for each.
I'm a little bit worried about giving my wife a bat, though. If I mess up.
I'll take my bat.
On Thursday, the president traveled to the Magic Kingdom in Orlando, Florida, where he unveiled a strategy to significantly boost tourism and travel, important sectors in the U.S. economy.
More money spent by more tourists means more businesses can hire more workers. It's a pretty simple formula.
It's the latest in a series of we can't wait actions the president has undertaken to promote job creation by putting in place right away policies that will strengthen the economy. To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
I am excited to see Mickey. It's always nice to meet a world leader who has bigger ears than me.
West Wing Week.
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the president prepared for and delivered his State of the Union address, welcomed the Boston Bruins to the White House, and took his blueprint for an America that's built to last out west to Iowa, Arizona, Nevada, and Colorado. That's January 20th to January 26th, or the State of the Union edition.
Tonight I want to speak about how we move forward and lay out a blueprint for an economy that's built to last.
On Friday, and up through Tuesday's State of the Union address, the president, his top advisors, and speechwriters worked through policy initiatives to craft a blueprint to lasting economic recovery built around four key pillars: American manufacturing, American energy, American workers, and American values. Meanwhile, on Monday, the president welcomed the six-time Stanley Cup champion Boston Bruins to the White House to honor the team for their 2011 Stanley Cup victory and their charitable work off the ice.
The Bruins, the Sox, the Celtics, now the Patriots. Enough already, Boston.
On Tuesday, January 24th, the president gave his third State of the Union address on his central focus as president: rebuilding an economy where hard work pays off and responsibility is rewarded.
The state of our union is getting stronger. As long as I'm president, I will work with anyone in this chamber to build on this momentum. But I intend to fight obstruction with action, and I will oppose any effort to return to the very same policies that brought on this economic crisis in the first place.
On Wednesday and Thursday following his State of the Union address, President Obama embarked on a 5-state swing across the country, starting in Cedar Rapids, Iowa at Conveyor Engineering, and then to Arizona, to Intel's Ocotillo plant.
I'm here because the factory that's being built behind me is an example of an America that is within our reach. An America that attracts the next generation of good manufacturing jobs. An America where we build stuff and make stuff and sell stuff all over the world.
On Thursday, he was in Las Vegas to speak at UPS and Denver, where he spoke at Buckley Air Force Base. Back at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the White House was busy introducing new, innovative ways for the American public to ask questions and engage with senior administration officials about the State of the Union address, including a panel discussion streamed live immediately following the speech, and in the following days, a series of office hours on Twitter with advisors to the president. To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. Or now, you can follow me on Twitter. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
This is the first time I've been locked in a room with John for 2 weeks straight without oxygen.
How fun!
It's been really fun. We've gotten to know each other really well, as if we haven't over the last 5 years.
Engineering that's related to the high-tech industries.
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the president made history by holding the first completely virtual interview on Google+. He also tackled the rising cost of tuition at the University of Michigan, welcomed the president of Georgia, convened a cabinet meeting, announced a major refinancing plan for responsible homeowners, and spoke at the National Prayer Breakfast. That's January 27th to February 2nd, or riding the advanced technology superhighway.
This is what I needed in high school.
The president kicked off this West Wing Week at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, focusing on the importance of tackling rising college costs to ensure America's students and workers can obtain the education and training they need to compete for jobs in the 21st century.
We aspire to financial success, but we also understand that we're not successful just by ourselves. We're successful because somebody started the University of Michigan. We've got responsibilities, yes, to ourselves, but also to each other. And now it's our turn to be responsible. Congress needs to do more. They need to stop the interest rates on student loans from doubling this July. That's what's scheduled to happen if Congress doesn't act. That would not be good for you. So you should let your members of Congress know, don't do that. Don't do it.
On Monday morning, the president welcomed the president of Georgia to the White House, marking the 20th anniversary of diplomatic relations between our two countries. Meanwhile, across the hall, the Google Plus crew was busy readying the Roosevelt Room to host the first completely virtual interview from the White House. In an interview the folks at Google call a hangout, President Obama answered questions submitted by and voted on by more than 225,000 people via YouTube, while streamed live on whitehouse.gov.
Mr. President, if it's all right with you, may I just introduce you to my children who are sitting just off camera? Come on over, guys. Just put your faces right over here. Quickly. Just come on over.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
What do you say?
You doing all right?
Mr. President. I think they're speechless.
Make sure to study hard in school and do what your mom tells you.
On the one-year anniversary of the White House's Startup America initiative, the president on Tuesday welcomed Karen Mills of the Small Business Administration, who is attending the meeting as an official member of the president's cabinet for the first time.
It is a symbol of how important it is for us to spur entrepreneurship, to help startups, to move aggressively so that we can assure more companies that create the most jobs in our economy are getting a leg up.
Later, he took a trip across town to the Advanced Technology Superhighway, or the 70th Annual Washington Auto Show, to check out the latest models from Ford, Chrysler, and General Motors, a testament to the outstanding work American auto workers have done to bring the American auto industry back.
The fact that GM is back #1, I think shows the kind of turnaround that's possible when it comes to American manufacturing.
On the first day of February, the president traveled to Falls Church, Virginia, to announce a plan to help responsible middle-class homeowners save an average of $3,000 per year and strengthen the housing market in neighborhoods across America.
This housing crisis struck right at the heart of what it means to be middle class in America. Our homes, the place where we invest our nest egg, the place where we raise our family. I remember when Michelle and I bought our first condo. And we're looking through the forms and we're kind of holding it out, reading it again. What does this phrase mean? This is what a mortgage form should look like.
On Thursday, the president attended the annual National Prayer Breakfast and spoke about how his faith and values guide the difficult decisions he makes as he leads the country.
I wake up each morning and I say a brief prayer. And I spend a little time in scripture and devotion. But I don't stop there. I'd be remiss if I stopped there. If my values were limited to personal moments of prayer or private conversations with pastors or friends. So instead, I must try, imperfectly, but I must try to make sure those values motivate me as one leader of this great nation.
To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
You know, I had a friend who had a Corvette. And he let me drive it one time. One time.
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the president happily kicked off the second annual science fair at the White House and continued to call for an all-hands-on-deck approach to educating our kids in the fields of math, science, technology, and engineering. He also spoke about putting our veterans back to work at Fire Station No. 5 in Arlington, announced a $25 billion agreement to help homeowners and hold big banks accountable, and unveiled yet another We Can't Wait initiative to encourage states to raise standards and reform schools. That's February 3rd to February 9th, or don't be bored, make something.
Make something. That's a great motto. Actually, I'm going to keep your card, just in case.
On Friday, the president visited Fire Station No. 5 in Arlington, Virginia, which is one of the first stations to respond to the 9/11 attack on the Pentagon. After a decade of war, the president announced new initiatives to put veterans back to work in his blueprint for an American economy that's built to last.
We need to make sure that as our troops return from battle, they can find a job when they get home. Congress should take the money that we're no longer spending on war, use half of it to pay down our debt, and use the rest to do some nation building here at home, to improve the quality of life right here in the United States of America.
On Monday, the White House began preparations for its second annual science fair, which welcomed students and their exhibits, ranging from breakthrough research to new inventions. The student scientists and inventors were winners of a broad range of science, technology, engineering, and math competitions from all across America. On Tuesday, the White House Science Fair was in full swing, and the president spent nearly an hour reviewing the exhibits and talking to the students on the state floor of the White House. So without further ado, enjoy these highlights from one of the president's favorite days of the year.
Well, I've developed a system for detecting nuclear threats, and specifically in cargo containers, so...
What grade are you guys in?
6th.
You're in 6th grade? You guys are already inventing stuff? That's outstanding. This is great. Cotswold is a, you say it's a fairly rare breed of sheep?
Yes.
So you guys are filing a patent on this thing right now. That's outstanding work.
Thank you.
We're really proud of it. Excellent. Is this a sample here? Yeah. We're very proud of it.
Thank you.
Go cure cancer.
Thank you.
How far away are we, do you think, to the point where people actually have a prosthetic arm that they can completely control?
I designed the game.
You designed the game. Sheesh. When I decide to move my arm up, there's a certain pattern, and so essentially you're then replicating the pattern. Do I see a little light in there?
There is an LED light in
It's
there.
an LED light?
I have to go over and around.
There, you got him!
The Secret Service really didn't want me bringing my nuclear reactor in here. I said, then they tried to hire me, so, I don't know, it's a mixed message.
You're optimizing as the sun moves through the sky, how much sunlight you're actually capturing.
Yeah.
Oh! So you got a patent, so nobody's gonna mess with you.
Yeah.
Smart stuff. You're a smart guy. All right? Keep it up. All right, good job.
The president then spoke on the importance of STEM education to the country's economic future.
I just spent some time checking out some of the projects that were brought here today, and I've got to say, this is fun. It's not every day that you have robots running all over your house. When you work and study and excel at what you're doing in math and science, when you compete in something like this, you're not just trying to win a prize today. You're getting America in shape to win the future.
On Thursday, the president was joined by Attorney General Eric Holder and HUD Secretary Sean Donovan to announce an historic $25 billion agreement that will hold big banks accountable and offer much-needed help for millions of homeowners without costing taxpayers a dime.
And that's what today's settlement's all about. Standing up for the American people, holding those who broke the law accountable, restoring confidence in our housing market and our financial sector, getting things moving, and we're going to keep on at it until everyone shares in America's comeback.
Later, the president appeared at a White House event with Education Secretary Arne Duncan and education leaders from 10 states that have agreed to implement bold reforms and raise education standards in exchange for greater flexibility from the burdensome mandates of the federal education law known as No Child Left Behind.
This is good news for our kids. It's good news for our country. The best ideas aren't going to just come from here in Washington. They're going to come from teachers and principals and parents. They're going to come from you. And our job is to harness those ideas, to lift up best practices, to hold states and schools accountable for making them work.
And ending this West Wing week with a Viva Italia, the president welcomed Prime Minister Monti of Italy to the White House to discuss the comprehensive steps the Italian government is taking to restore market confidence, reinvigorate growth through structural reforms, and bring some stability to European financial markets. To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
It's really cool, though.
Thanks.
How long did it take you to design it?
A couple months.
Uh-huh. So you want to be a game designer?
Maybe.
Yeah? Yeah, you're only 5th grade. You don't have to make up your mind now. You got time to decide.
West Wing Week.
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the president made a major announcement on a policy to guarantee access to free preventative health care services, unveiled next year's budget, pushed Congress to extend the payroll tax, awarded the National Medals of Arts and Humanities, met with China's Vice President Xi, and traveled west to Wisconsin and California. That's February 10th to February 16th, or go big.
Today is Valentine's Day. Go big. That's my advice.
On Friday, the president spoke to reporters in the White House briefing room and made an important announcement on a policy that will respect religious views while guaranteeing access to free preventative services like contraception to workers across the country.
Every woman should be in control of the decisions that affect her own health. Period. This is an issue where people of goodwill on both sides of the debate have been sorted through some very complicated questions to find a solution that works for everyone. With today's announcement, we've done that. Religious liberty will be protected, and a law that requires free preventive care will not discriminate against women.
Meanwhile, in Dallas, Texas, First Lady Michelle Obama marked day 2 of her Let's Move tour by taping a segment of the popular TV cooking show Top Chef, joined by Top Chef alums, members of the Dallas Cowboys football team, and local school children. She served as a judge to a healthy cooking competition that highlighted a key component of the Let's Move initiative, making school lunches more tasty and nutritious.
Do the same thing with this cilantro. You like cilantro?
Later, in Homestead, Florida, the First Lady continued the discussion of childhood health, nutrition, and fitness at a WebMD town hall with local families, before ending her day in Central Florida, where she joined the Halls family at their home and sat down for a healthy, home-cooked dinner based upon the principles of My Plate, a new USDA nutrition system that replaced the old pyramid. On Saturday, the First Lady concluded her Let's Move tour at the ESPN Wide World of Sports complex at Disney World, where she joined 1,400 families for a community physical activity event. On Monday, February 13th, the president visited Northern Virginia Community College to unveil his budget proposal and announce a new $8 billion community college to career fund.
In the State of the Union, I outlined a blueprint for an economy that is built to last. Today, we're releasing the details of that blueprint in the form of next year's budget. Don't worry, I will not read it to you. But the main idea in the budget is this. At a time when our economy is growing and creating jobs at a faster clip, we've got to do everything in our power to keep this recovery on track. And that's why my administration is helping community colleges redesign training programs. And that's why we're making a national commitment to train 2 million Americans with skills they need to get a job right now or start their own business right now.
Back at the White House, the First Lady and the President were part of a time-honored White House tradition of awarding the 2011 National Medal of Arts and National Humanities Medal in the East Room.
Somewhere in America, the next great writer is wrestling with the first draft of an English paper. Somewhere the next great actor is mustering up the courage to try out for that school play. Somewhere the next great artist is doodling on their homework. Somewhere the next great thinker is asking their teacher, why not? They're out there right now, dwelling in possibility.
On Tuesday, the President delivered remarks urging Congress to extend the payroll tax cut and unemployment insurance, and was joined by Americans from across the country who have shared what $40 a paycheck means to them.
Just pass this middle-class tax cut, pass the extension of unemployment insurance, do it before it's too late, and I will sign it right away.
Later, the President sat down with Chinese Vice President Xi for a bilateral meeting in the Oval Office. On Wednesday, the President traveled to Milwaukee to tour the manufacturing facilities at Masterlock and discuss his blueprint for an economy built to last, based on American manufacturing and the importance of companies insourcing and investing right here in America.
Manufacturing is coming back. Companies are starting to bring jobs back. The economy is getting stronger. The recovery is speeding up. We're moving in the right direction. And now we have to do everything in our power to keep our foot on the gas.
Meanwhile, on Thursday, back in Washington, the First Lady made a surprise appearance in the Blue Room to greet unsuspecting tourists visiting the White House. She was, of course, accompanied by Beau. And this concludes the 99th edition of the West Wing Week. You heard that right, the 99th week. To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov and be sure to tune in next week for a special 100th edition. And thanks again for checking out the West Wing Week.
I was thinking about the fact that I am a father of 2 girls who are soon going to be in high school. And then it might come in handy to have these super locks.
Come on. Hi, my name's Barack Obama, and I'm Josh Earnest's understudy. Welcome to the 100th episode of West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I hope Josh likes that.
Not bad, Mr. President. I'll take it from here. Welcome to the 100th edition of the West Wing Week. It's hard to believe that when the West Wing Week first debuted, that Don't Ask, Don't Tell was still the law of the land, Americans were still fighting in Iraq, and the future of the American auto industry was still in doubt. And who knew the President could sing? Whew! What a difference 694 days make. It's make, right? Not makes? Okay, make. Okay. We've got a great West Wing week for you this week. B.B. King is here. The Boeing Dreamliner. A speech about American energy. A payroll tax cut extension. And special musical guest, Kev Mo.
Come on.
On Friday, the President traveled to the biggest building in the world, otherwise known as the Boeing plant in Everett, Washington. He discussed his blueprint for an economy built to last, based on American manufacturing and the importance of promoting American exports.
This was one of the biggest deals Boeing had ever done. Over the years, it will help support thousands of American jobs, including jobs here in Everett. Everything that had gone into making this day possible. All the challenges, all the setbacks,
it's been a tremendous
thousands of hours of brain power and manpower and woman power. You said you would do it, and you did. That's what we do as Americans.
Meanwhile, the White House was honoring National Black History Month in the East Wing, with a visit from the North Carolina A&T University Choir. On Tuesday, the president invited Americans who have shared their stories on whitehouse.gov and Twitter about what $40 a paycheck means to them, to join them for an event at the White House to discuss the importance of the agreement passed by Congress to extend the payroll tax cuts, and to urge Congress to build on the success of the agreement by taking additional steps to create jobs, strengthen the economy, and help middle-class families get a fair shot and a fair shake.
This got done because of you. Because you called, you emailed, you tweeted your representatives, and you demanded action. You made it clear that you wanted to see some common sense in Washington.
Later, the President and First Lady joined music legends and contemporary major artists at the White House for a celebration of blues music in recognition of Black History Month as part of their In Performance at the White House series. One of the White House Blues All-Stars, Keb Mo, serenaded this year's special edition of the West Wing Week with an impromptu tribute.
One more time. It ain't my thing, it's your thing, maybe it's our thing, right here on the West Wing. That was better.
On Wednesday, the President and First Lady crossed the street to the National Mall for the groundbreaking of the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. The museum is scheduled to open in 2015 and will be the only national museum devoted exclusively to the documentation of African American life, art, history, and culture.
This day has been a long time coming. The idea for a museum dedicated to African Americans was first put forward by Black veterans of the Civil War. And years later, the call was picked up by members of the Civil Rights generation, by men and women who knew how to fight for what was right and strive for what is just.
On Thursday, the President traveled to the University of Miami, where he toured the engineering department and spoke to the students and faculty about one of the pillars of last month's State of the Union address, American energy. And let me say for the 100th time, to find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your centennial edition of the West Wing Week. Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the President honored the resurgence of the American auto industry, challenged governors to invest in education, held a dinner honoring Iraq War veterans, hosted the Prime Minister of Denmark, and urged Congress to end subsidies for oil and gas companies during a trip to New Hampshire. That's February 24th to March 1st, or That's Worth Fighting For.
Worth more than just the cars they build. They're a symbol of American innovation and know-how. They're the source of our manufacturing might. If that's not worth fighting for, what's worth fighting for?
On Friday, the President hosted his first bilateral meeting with Denmark's first female Prime Minister, who was elected last September.
Ensure not only economic stability in Europe, but also growth in Europe, because if Europe is growing, that benefits the U.S. economy as well.
Meanwhile, in Thomasville, North Carolina, Dr. Jill Biden and Secretary of Labor Hilda Solis met up with the Vice President at Davidson County Community College, the last stop on their Community College to Career bus tour. The tour highlighted the importance of community colleges in training American workers through industry partnerships. On Monday, the President addressed the National Governors Association in the state dining room and challenged them to not balance budgets by cutting funds for colleges or laying off teachers.
Nothing more clearly signals what you value as a state than the decisions you make about where to invest. We can't allow higher education to be a luxury in this country. It's an economic imperative that every family in America has to be able to afford.
On Tuesday, the President spoke at the UAW annual conference, where he praised the American auto workers for their hard work and dedication, which didn't just keep the American auto industry alive, it's led them back to prosperity.
So no, we were not going to take a knee and do nothing. We were not going to give up on your jobs and your families and your communities. So in exchange for help, we demanded responsibility. We said to the auto industry, you're going to have to truly change, not just pretend like you're changing. So I promise you this, as long as you've got an ounce of fight left in you, I'll have a ton of fight left in me.
The president also signed an executive order creating an administration task force to enforce trade laws and ensure a level playing field for American workers. He also welcomed the American Legion leadership and ended the day with a treat. In the diplomatic room, first graders from Orchard Garden School in Roxbury, Massachusetts were warming up before performing for the president and their governor, Deval Patrick. The school, which has benefited from the administration's Race to the Top program, was eager to showcase the spoken word talents of its students, including a rendition of Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech.
I feel like I was as powerful as Martin Luther King Jr. and I feel amazed.
Why do you feel so amazed?
Because I feel like this whole thing is just a dream, but it's not.
That my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
You guys, you make me so proud. You guys were so good.
On Leap Day, the president conducted interviews with ESPN's Bill Simmons and ABC's Bob Woodruff, and held a dinner honoring members of our armed forces who served in Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation New Dawn and their families.
These rooms have hosted presidents and prime ministers and kings and queens. But in the history of this House, there's never been a night quite like this. Because this evening, we welcome not the statesmen who decide great questions of war and peace, but citizens, men and women from every corner of our country, from every rank of our military, every branch of our service, who answer the call, who go to war, who defend the peace.
On Thursday, the president traveled to snowy New Hampshire to visit Nashua Community College, where he challenged Congress to vote to end $4 billion in taxpayer subsidies that are currently sent to oil and gas companies.
You can stand with the oil companies or you can stand up for the American people. You can keep subsidizing a fossil fuel that's been getting taxpayer dollars for a century, or you can place your bets on a clean energy future. So I'm asking everybody here today, anybody who's watching at home, let your member of Congress know where you stand. Will you do that?
To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week. Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the president addressed both the conservation and AIPAC conferences, sat down with Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel, the Prime Minister of Libya, and President Mills of Ghana, hosted a White House news conference, and traveled to the Daimler Mount Holly truck plant in North Carolina. That's March 2nd to March 8th, or speak softly, carry a big stick.
Now's the time to heed the timeless advice from Teddy Roosevelt. Speak softly, carry a big stick.
On Friday, Secretary of the Interior Ken Salazar's birthday, the president addressed the Conference of Conservationists at the Department of Interior.
The bottom line is this. There will always be people in this country who say we've got to choose between clean air and clean water and a growing economy, between doing right by our environment and putting people back to work. And I'm here to tell you that is a false choice.
On Sunday, the president delivered remarks to the AIPAC Policy Conference in Washington, D.C.
Already there's too much loose talk of war. Over the last few weeks, such talk has only benefited the Iranian government by driving up the price of oil, which they depend on to fund their nuclear program. There is no shortage of speeches on the friendship between the United States and Israel. But I'm also mindful of the proverb, a man is judged by his deeds, not his words. So if you want to know where my heart lies, look no further than what I have done, to stand up for Israel, to secure both of our countries, and to see that the rough waters of our time lead to a peaceful and prosperous shore.
On Monday, the president met in the Oval Office with Prime Minister Netanyahu for the 9th time during his administration. The meeting was an opportunity for the president to reaffirm the unbreakable bond between the United States and Israel and to discuss a range of strategic issues of mutual concern.
My policy here is not going to be one of containment. My policy is prevention of Iran obtaining nuclear weapons. As I indicated yesterday in my speech, when I say all options are at the table, I mean it.
On Super Tuesday, the president reconvened his Technology CEO Council, then hosted a news conference at the White House, where he announced 2 steps his administration is taking to support responsible homeowners and their families.
We are cutting by more than half the refinancing fees that families pay for loans insured by the Federal Housing Administration. We're also taking a series of steps to help homeowners who have served our country. It is unconscionable that members of our armed forces and their families have been some of those who have been most susceptible to losing their homes due to the actions of unscrupulous banks and mortgage lenders.
On Wednesday, the president met with the Prime Minister of Libya and his delegation in the Roosevelt Room. Then he traveled south to North Carolina, where he toured the Daimler Mount Holly truck manufacturing plant and spoke to workers there about the economy.
You know, the freighter line trucks that you're making here at this plant run on natural gas, and that makes them quieter. It makes them better for the environment. It makes them cheaper to fill up than they would be with diesel. And we should put every member of Congress on record. They can stand up for the oil companies, or they can stand up for the American people and this new energy future.
On Thursday, the president welcomed the commander-in-chief of the Veterans of Foreign Wars in the Oval Office, then held a bilateral meeting with President Mills of Ghana, welcoming the opportunity to reciprocate the warm hospitality that both he and the First Lady received during their visit to Ghana 3 years ago. To find out more information on any of these topics, or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
How long have you been? 25 years. What? Man, how old are you, man? 47. Are you really? Man, I gotta eat what he's eating. That's right. Look at this young man. I'm telling you. Hey, is it exercise? Drinking water. Yes, sir. Plenty of water. Is that what it is? Yes, sir. Okay, I'll
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the president pressed for support of advanced manufacturing, held a series of live from the White House interviews with local television anchors, pressed China to protect American workers against unfair trade practices, hosted Prime Minister David Cameron for an official state visit and a trip to an NCAA basketball game, and spoke on energy and job creation in Maryland. That's March 9th to March 15th, or leveling the playing field. The week kicked off with a trip to the Rolls-Royce Crosspoint facility outside Richmond, Virginia, where high-tech aircraft engine components are engineered and produced. The president got a tour of the plant and announced a new proposal for a national network of manufacturing innovation hubs.
Rolls-Royce is choosing to invest in America. You're creating jobs here, manufacturing components for jet engines, for planes that we're going to send all around the world stamped with 3 proud words, made in America.
On Monday, as part of Live from the White House, the president participated in interviews in the cabinet room on his blueprint for secure energy future with local television anchors from Des Moines, Cincinnati, Los Angeles, Denver, Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, Austin, and Orlando. Later, he met with local elected leaders representing the National League of Cities and the current White House Fellowship recipients. An annual tradition for the president to meet these exceptional young men and women, he brought them to the Oval Office for a visit.
So guys, you know who you are. You guys have to be in the back. Great.
On Tuesday, the president met the 2012 Intel Science Talent Search winners. And then, as spring weather arrived in Washington, D.C., delivered the first outdoor statement of the year in the resplendent Rose Garden, announcing new efforts to enforce our trade agreements with China and level the playing field for America's businesses and workers.
2 weeks ago, I created a trade enforcement union to aggressively investigate any unfair trade practices taking place anywhere in the world. This morning, we're taking an additional step forward. We're bringing a new trade case against China, and we're being joined by Japan and some of our European allies.
And then, kicking off the official visit of United Kingdom Prime Minister David Cameron, traveled with the Prime Minister to Dayton, Ohio for the first 4 game, with Mississippi Valley State squaring off against Western Kentucky. The trip marked the first time that a foreign leader traveled aboard Air Force One with President Obama. On Wednesday, the President and First Lady welcomed Prime Minister Cameron and his wife, Samantha Cameron, with a formal arrival ceremony and state dinner. The visit highlights the special and essential friendship and partnership with the government and people of the United Kingdom, a NATO ally and our closest partner in the world. They had the opportunity to consult on a wide range of important issues, including Iran, Syria, and Afghanistan, where our troops are fighting side by side, as well as the G8 and NATO summits that are scheduled for May. On Thursday, the President traveled to Largo, Maryland, to speak to the students and faculty at Prince George's Community College on ways to spur American jobs and competitiveness while taking control of our energy future.
We can't allow ourselves to be held hostage to events on the other side of the globe. America controls its own destiny. We're not dependent on somebody else. So we can't have an energy strategy for the last century that traps us in the past. We need an energy strategy for the future, an all-of-the-above strategy for the 21st century that develops every source of American-made energy.
To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
I'm going to get a couple of full slabs. Where are the sides? Coleslaw and beans. Hot sauce. It's got to be hot.
All right, got it?
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the President celebrated his 4th St. Patrick's Day as President and hosted the Irish Prime Minister, marked Nowruz with a video address, then embarked on a 4-state energy tour. That's March 16th to the 22nd, or Slanche. On Monday, the President recorded a video address marking Nowruz, the Persians' longest and most cherished festivity on which Iranians celebrate the New Year. In his address, the President called on the Iranian regime to lift the electronic curtain that limits the ability of the Iranian people to freely express their views on the Internet.
So in this season of new beginnings, the people of Iran should know that the United States of America seeks a future of deeper connections between our people. A time when the electronic curtain that divides us is lifted and your voices are heard. A season in which mistrust and fear are overcome by mutual understanding and our common hopes as human beings. Thank you. And Eid Shoma Mubarak.
On Tuesday, the President welcomed the Prime Minister of Ireland to the White House. Then they traveled to the Capitol, where they attended a traditional St. Patrick's Day lunch, including a stirring rendition of Danny Boy. The United States and the Emerald Isle shared strong bilateral relations, deep cultural ties, and a commitment to advancing our shared values throughout the world. On Wednesday, the President embarked on a 4-state trip to highlight his all-of-the-above approach to American energy, starting in Boulder City, Nevada, where he visited the Copper Mountain Solar One facility, the largest photovoltaic plant operating in the country, with nearly 1 million solar panels powering 17,000 homes. The President made clear that America must continue to invest in cutting-edge solar energy technology because we simply can't afford to cede that growing industry to competitors in other countries.
You'd think, given this extraordinary site, given the fact that this is creating jobs, generating power, helping to keep our environment clean, making us more competitive globally, you'd think that everybody would be supportive of solar power. That's what you'd think.
The President then traveled to oil and gas production fields located on federal lands outside of Carlsbad, New Mexico, an area home to more than 70 active drilling rigs. Since President Obama took office, drilling for oil and gas on public lands alone has increased 13%.
It doesn't make sense for us to be providing a $4 billion subsidy when oil and gas are doing plenty well on their own. Let's tell Congress to get their act together. Let's allocate these subsidies in a smart kind of way.
On Thursday, the President continued on to Oklahoma to discuss his effort to expedite the construction of an oil pipeline from Cushing, Oklahoma to the Texas Gulf Coast that will ease a bottleneck that has led to a glut of oil in Oklahoma.
And today we're making this new pipeline from Cushing to the Gulf a priority. But the fact is, producing more oil at home isn't enough by itself to bring gas prices down. And the reason is we've got an oil market that is global.
The final stop on the trip took the President to Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio, home to some of the country's most advanced energy-related research and development projects that will play an important role in helping America finally become independent of foreign sources of energy.
We've got to also look at renewable energy as the key to our future. And we've got to build cars and trucks
that get more miles to the gallon.
To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out the West Wing Week.
It is a great honor to meet you.
Well,
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
79 years.
Amazing.
Huh? This is wonderful. You got to tell me your secret for staying married for 79 years. I love that story.
You should know what it is.
You just do what she tells you to do.
No compromise.
Oh, well, there you go. Absolutely. Bye-bye. That's a great story. It's amazing. 79 years.
서쪽 날개주 West Wing Week.
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the President traveled to the Republic of Korea to attend a security summit, where he also visited the DMZ, held a series of bilateral and trilateral meetings, and gave a major address to students at Hankook University. While back at home, the new year of the kitchen garden got underway with this year's first planting. That's March 23rd to March 29th, or I've Got Soul. On the first Friday of spring, and with the Rose Garden in full Technicolor splendor, the President announced his nominee for the President of the World Bank.
It's time for a development professional to lead the world's largest development agency. And that's why today, after a careful and thorough search, I'm nominating Dr. Jim Kim to be the next President of the World Bank. I think I can speak for Secretary Clinton and Secretary Geithner when I say that we are looking forward to working with him.
That evening, the President set off on Air Force One, bound for the Republic of Korea. And on Saturday, the President was still traveling, crossing 13 time zones, 1 continent, and the Pacific Ocean. Air Force One made the 6,945-mile journey, or 11,177 kilometers for the metric folks. The President landed early Sunday morning Korea time for his third visit to the Republic of Korea as President. His first stop was the demilitarized zone, the border separating North Korea and South Korea. He met with American and Korean troops serving on the Korean Peninsula and saw North Korea firsthand.
You guys are at freedom's frontier. When you think about the transformation that has taken place in South Korea during my lifetime, it is directly attributable to this long line of soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen. We're grateful to you. We're proud of you. And I hope that all your family back home knows how proud your Commander-in-Chief is of you.
In the afternoon, the President sat down for the first of many bilateral meetings during his Korean sojourn with Prime Minister Erdogan of Turkey. Next was a bilateral meeting and a joint news conference with his host, President Lee of Korea, at the Blue House, where they consulted on goals for the Nuclear Security Summit and reaffirmed our strong alliance and relationship. Then, they sat down to dinner, capping off the first of 3 historic days in Seoul. On Monday, the President marked the beginning of the 2-day Nuclear Security Summit with a speech, laying out the central purpose of his visit to the students of Hankook University of Foreign Studies.
So our shared future and the unprecedented opportunity to meet shared challenges together is what brings me to Seoul. Over the next 2 days, under President Lee's leadership, more than 50 nations will mark our progress toward the goal we set at the summit I hosted 2 years ago in Washington, securing the world's vulnerable nuclear materials in 4 years so that they never fall into the hands of terrorists.
The President then sat down for discussions with the presidents of the Russian Federation, Kazakhstan, and the People's Republic of China before marking the official beginning of the 2012 Nuclear Security Summit. This was the second edition of the conference after the 2010 Nuclear Security Summit that the President convened in Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, back at home and halfway across the globe, the First Lady was just getting started with her day, her week, and the 4th annual kitchen garden planting on the south lawn of the White House, with help from students from North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Iowa, and Girl Scout Troop 60325 from New York. Meanwhile, back in Korea, the summit was now in full swing, with the first plenary session underway, and then a break for the so-called family photo, with the leaders of the nations participating in the Nuclear Security Summit. the president stood alongside the presidents of Russia and Kazakhstan for a trilateral announcement on their progress on a joint operation to clean up the STS nuclear test site in Kazakhstan. He then met with Prime Minister Ghilani of Pakistan before bidding farewell to the Republic of Korea with a final goodbye to U.S. troops there, thus beginning the 15-hour journey eastward toward home. On Thursday, the president spoke in the Rose Garden and called on Congress to end the billions in taxpayer subsidies that goes to the largest oil and gas companies.
They can either vote to spend billions of dollars more in oil subsidies that keep us trapped in the past, or they can vote to end these taxpayer subsidies that aren't needed to boost oil production so that we can invest in the future. It's that simple. And as long as I'm president, I'm betting on the future.
Later, the president did an interview with Clark Kellogg of CBS, stopped by to meet with members of the International Red Cross, and spoke to the Cesar Chavez Champions of Change, who represent communities all across America. To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week. And remember, Sunday is International Make Things Dance Day. Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the president hosted a summit with North American leaders, addressed the Associated Press, signed the Stock Act and the Jobs Act, and held an Easter prayer breakfast. That's March 30th to April 5th, or the annual Spring Break edition.
Spring break!
Spring Break at the White House kicked off with a gathering of North Americans, with the president hosting Prime Minister Stephen Harper of Canada and President Felipe Calderon of Mexico for the North American Leaders Summit, where they discussed important progress on economic growth and competitiveness, citizen security, energy, and climate change.
Last year, trade in goods with our two neighbors surpassed $1 trillion for the first time ever. This trade supports some 2.5 million American jobs, and I want more trade supporting even more jobs.
On Tuesday, the president spoke at an Associated Press luncheon about his commitment to ensuring every American gets a fair shot and a fair shake, especially middle-class families.
And in the face of all these challenges, we're going to have to answer a central question as a nation. What, if anything, can we do to restore a sense of security for people who are willing to work hard and act responsibly in this country? I've said it's the defining issue of our time, and I believe it.
That afternoon, the president signed the Economic Report of the President, which summarizes the nation's economic progress.
All right, there we go.
And is written by the Council of Economic Advisors, whom he thanked outside in the glorious Rose Garden.
Thank you, guys.
On Wednesday, the president started his day with the third annual Easter prayer breakfast in the East Room.
In less than a week, this house will be overrun by thousands of kids at the Easter egg roll. So I wanted to get together with you for a little prayer and reflection, some calm before the storm. To all the faith leaders from all across the country, from churches and congregations large and small, from different denominations and different backgrounds, thank you for coming to our third annual Easter prayer breakfast.
Later, the president and vice president met up to sign the Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge Act, or STOCK Act, which makes clear that members of Congress are subject to the same insider trading laws that apply to everyone else.
Today, I want to thank all the members of Congress who came together and worked to get this done. It shows that when an idea is right, that we can still accomplish something on behalf of the American people and to make our government and our country stronger.
Then, the president stopped in at the Personal Finance Online Summit with 24 leading editors in the personal finance online media world, where he took questions and discussed his efforts to strengthen the economy and put in place rules that will hold big banks and Wall Street firms accountable for playing by the rules. Together, the 24 online properties represented will reach more than 50 million adults each month. On Thursday, the president signed the Jumpstart Our Business Startups Act, or JOBS Act, which includes key initiatives the president himself proposed last fall to help small businesses and startups grow and create jobs. In the evening, the president hosted a screening for the film To Kill a Mockingbird at the White House. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the classic American film's premiere.
So nice to see you. You're still so young.
To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
Spring break!
West Wing Week.
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the president hosted a forum on women in the economy, welcomed the president of Brazil, traveled to Florida to urge the Senate to pass the Buffett rule, and took part in the great annual White House tradition, the Easter egg roll. That's April 6th to April 12th, or
This incredible
your proof of change.
collection of accomplished women, your proof of change.
On Friday, April 6th, the president walked over to the EEOB to attend the White House Forum on Women in the Economy. He highlighted ways his administration has worked to ensure women's economic security and to create jobs for women all across America.
When any of our citizens can't fulfill the potential that they have because of factors that have nothing to do with talent or character or work ethic, that diminishes us all. It holds all of us back. So closing this pay gap, ending pay discrimination, is about far more than simple fairness.
On Monday, the First Family kicked off the 134th annual Easter egg roll on the South Lawn of the White House, featuring sports, storytelling, and of course, Easter egg roll.
You gotta keep going. Okay, where the wild things are. Yes, that's the wild roughness. Wild things roar their terrible roars and gnash their terrible teeth and roll their terrible eyes. Roll your eyes.
In the afternoon, the president hosted President Dilma Rousseff of Brazil for meetings at the White House as part of the leaders' ongoing dialogue regarding the growing partnership between the United States and Brazil. On Tuesday, the president traveled to Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton, Florida, to speak on the economy and made the case for the Buffett rule, a simple principle of fairness that ensures that millionaires pay at least the same effective tax rate as middle-class families.
You might have heard of this, but Warren Buffett is paying a lower tax rate than his secretary. Now that's wrong. That's not fair. And so we've got to choose which direction we want this country to go in. Do we want to keep giving those tax breaks to folks like me who don't need them, or to give them to Warren Buffett? He definitely doesn't need them. Or Bill Gates, he's already said, I don't need them. Or do we want to keep investing in those things that keep our economy growing and keep us secure? That's the choice.
On Wednesday, the president delivered a statement on the Buffett rule in the EEOB, standing with a group of millionaires and their secretaries to urge the Senate to pass a law that ensures millionaires don't pay a lower tax rate than their secretaries. It might surprise you to hear which former president fought for the same kind of tax fairness.
Another speech where he said it was crazy, that's a quote, that certain tax loopholes make it possible for multimillionaires to pay nothing, while a bus driver was paying 10% of his salary. That wild-eyed socialist tax-hiking class warrior was Ronald Reagan.
Later, the president joined a conference call from the Oval Office and spoke with thousands of AmeriCorps and Senior Corps volunteers to thank them for their service and welcome the new CEO of the Corporation for National and Community Service, Wendy Spencer. On Thursday, the president continued to make the case for the Buffett rule in interviews with 4 local television anchors from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Columbus, Ohio, Reno, Nevada, and St. Louis, Missouri, sending an appeal to the senators from those states to support the proposal when it comes to the floor of the Senate on Monday.
Great to be here at the home.
To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
It's a burrowing.
It's a native of Florida.
There's a lot on campus.
Are there a lot of them? Do you see them quite a bit? I'm an owl.
Fighting owls.
Fighting owls.
I'm fighting owls.
Who calls the owls?
Owls. Go owls.
Welcome to the West Wing Week from Cartagena, Colombia.
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the President visited one of the Sunshine State's largest ports, attended the Summit of the Americas in Cartagena, Colombia, announced new steps to strengthen oversight of energy markets, welcomed champion NASCAR drivers in the Alabama Crimson Tide football team to the White House, and traveled to Ohio to speak with unemployed workers about the importance of job training programs. That's April 13th to April 19th, or Roll Tide. On Friday the 13th, the President headed south and tried his luck in the heat at the port of Tampa, where the sun made a particularly strong impression on staffers who forgot their SPF protection. The Tampa area has played a major role in the President's goal of doubling exports by the end of 2014.
How much expansion have you done lately?
This was 15 acres 5 years ago.
A part of building that economy is making sure that we're not a country that's known just for what we buy and what we consume. Our economy was thriving when shipping containers left ports like this packed with goods that were stamped with three proud words: Made in America. That's the country I want us to be again. Before leaving Tampa, he sat down with Telemundo for an interview at the port, and then began his journey further south to Cartagena, Colombia for the Summit of the Americas. On Saturday, he kicked off the 6th Annual Summit of the Americas by sitting down with Colombian President Santos, as well as President Rousseff of Brazil, for a CEO summit. The days when we could think of each of our economies in isolation, those days are long gone. My hope is that we all recognize this enormous opportunity that we've got, and I know that the business leaders who are here today, they understand it. They understand that we're in a new world and we have to think in new ways. Later, he attended the formal opening ceremony, replete with the major representation of the summit's chosen symbol, the colibri, or hummingbird, with another national symbol, Shakira. On Sunday, the President held a joint press conference with President Santos, where they announced the U.S.-Colombian Free Trade Agreement would take effect May 15th, which is expected to increase American exports by more than $1 billion and create or support thousands of jobs all across America. This is a fast-growing part of the world. It is one of our largest trading partners, so there is a natural bond that already exists, and it's important that our governments build on that natural bond for the mutual benefit of both nations. Later, the two presidents toured San Pedro Claver Church and participated in a landmark land titling event with President Santos, where they were joined by singer-songwriter Shakira. Both our nations have struggled to overcome a painful past. Both keep striving to fulfill our ideals of justice and equality. And I stand here today as President of the United States, and you can stand here with title to the land, and that is proof that progress is possible. We just got this. On Tuesday morning, after the Space Shuttle Discovery dazzled local residents as it flew over D.C. en route to its final home, the President delivered a statement in the Rose Garden, announcing a plan to increase oversight and crack down on manipulation in oil and gas markets. Speculators artificially manipulate markets by buying up oil, creating the perception of a shortage, and driving prices higher. That's not the way the market should work. And for anyone who thinks this cannot happen, just think back to how Enron traders manipulated the price of electricity to reap huge profits at everybody else's expense. In the afternoon, the President welcomed the 2011 chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series drivers to the White House to honor Tony Stewart's NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship and to recognize their efforts to give back to their community. You look out for military families, you look out for Gold Star families, you make regular visits to Walter Reed. For you guys to give that much back to folks who have given so much to us as a country and help protect us and keep us safe is remarkable. On Wednesday, the President traveled to Elyria, Ohio, where he held a roundtable with unemployed workers who are students in Lorain County Community College jobs training programs.
If it wasn't for you providing that opportunity for me to come back to school and to start my own career, honestly, I would not be able to do it without you.
Then he spoke at the college, highlighting his administration's job training initiatives to help get more Americans back to work and connect more unemployed Americans with the skills training needed to find jobs in high-demand, high-growth industries.
Right now, companies can't find enough qualified workers for the jobs they need to fill. So programs like this one are training hundreds of thousands of workers with the skills that companies are looking for. And it's working, and it's going to help America grow. Here in Lorain County, 90% of people who graduate from this program have a job 3 months later. 90%.
On Thursday, the president hosted the Alabama Crimson Tide football team on the south lawn of the White House in honor of their BCS National Championship victory. To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
West Wing Week!
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the president hosted the Wounded Warrior Project Soldier Ride, visited the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C., and traveled to North Carolina, Colorado, and Iowa to launch a sustained effort to get Congress to prevent interest rates on student loans from doubling on July 1st. That's April 20th to April 26th, or Don't Double My Rate.
Don't double my rate.
On Friday, the president welcomed the Wounded Warrior Project Soldier Ride to the White House in celebration of the 6th annual Soldier Ride. A cycling event to help wounded warriors restore their physical and emotional well-being, the Soldier Ride also raises awareness of our nation's wounded warriors who battle the physical and psychological traumas of war.
Today, there are soldier rides all across the country. They serve as a reminder that all of us can do our part to serve the men and women who serve us. You got to do it on the horn. I don't want anybody cheating. All right.
On Monday, President Obama marked the Holocaust Days of Remembrance with a visit to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C. The president toured the museum with Nobel Peace Prize laureate and Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel, then spoke on the ways in which the United States is honoring the pledge of never again by developing a comprehensive strategy to prevent and respond to mass atrocities.
That's why I created a new Atrocities Prevention Board to bring together senior officials from across our government to focus on this critical mission. This is not an afterthought. This is not a sideline in our foreign policy.
Later on Monday, the president presented the Commander-in-Chief Trophy to the Air Force Academy football team at the White House. On Tuesday, after conferring the Teacher of the Year award at the White House, the president set off for campus visits at the University of North Carolina, the University of Colorado at Boulder, and the University of Iowa. Stopping first in Chapel Hill, the president spoke to more than 7,000 students and faculty and announced a White House initiative to urge Congress not to let interest rates for student loans double in July.
I'm going to repeat that. The hashtag is Don't Double My Rate. You tweet, everybody say it, just so everybody remembers it. Don't double my rate.
The president then met up with Jimmy Fallon and his house band The Roots for a special on-campus taping of The Jimmy Fallon Show, featuring a very special presidential edition where they had a moment to practice backstage before they, yes, slow jammed the news. The president then traveled west to the University of Colorado at Boulder, where he stopped into the campus restaurant The Sink and met up with some graduating students to talk a bit about their future.
No matter how good you are at business, if you're doing something that you don't like, it's not going to go anywhere. But if you're interested in something, and then all the tools you guys have learned, you're applying to that, you can make a business out of it, right?
The president then addressed a crowd of more than 6,000 people about one of his top priorities, a priority shared by more than 7 million college students and their families all across the country.
America is not just about a few people doing well. America is about everybody having a chance to do well.
On Wednesday, the president traveled to the University of Iowa, where he participated in a roundtable discussion with current student loan recipients to hear from them about their experience, and then addressed an enthusiastic crowd of students, faculty, staff, and the University of Iowa marching band about the critical need for Congress to act.
This is the economy.
On Thursday, the president congratulated the spring season White House interns and met with champions of change, thus capping off another busy, challenging, and eventful West Wing week. To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing week. This week, we debut a brand new regular feature, a montage of some of our favorite West Wing week moments.
We have to see you strike the Heisman pose.
The reason I root for this team is they're almost as old as me. You know?
Exactly.
I mean, this is my contemporary.
Absolutely. I want to hear the cheer.
It's win the day.
Win the day.
And I'm sure that's
I
your
like
motto.
that. That's my motto every morning, man.
See?
Absolutely.
How about it?
All right, let's hear it.
1, 2.
Win the day.
I like that.
Come on.
One time.
Well, no, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 6. There you go. I'm tempted to wear it. What's in my pocket? I can't do it, man.
Where do you guys get your smoothies from?
We make them.
You make them yourself?
Yeah.
How are these like special super duper protein?
They are. Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah?
Yeah, come down and I'll make it personal.
Do you make the best smoothies?
Yeah. She does.
She does? Why? Everybody agrees. Well, they must be pretty good. All right. Well, keep it up.
West Wing Week.
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the president traveled to Afghanistan to sign a historic strategic partnership agreement, visit with our troops, and address the American people about responsibly ending the war. The president also traveled to Fort Stewart to sign an executive order to protect service members and their families from deceptive marketing practices, spoke at the annual White House Correspondents' Day, welcomed the Prime Minister of Japan, and spoke at the Building and Construction Trades Conference. That's April 27th to May 3rd, or
Out of many, we
out
are
of
one.
many, we are one.
Those are the values we've got to return to. If we do, there's nothing this country cannot achieve.
On Friday, the President and First Lady traveled to Fort Stewart in Georgia, where the President signed an executive order to ensure that all America's service members, veterans, spouses, and other family members have the information they need to make informed educational decisions and are protected from aggressive and deceptive targeting by educational institutions.
Before I get started, there's just one thing I want to say, and that is, hooah!
And Michelle and I just had a few moments at the Warriors Walk, paying tribute to 441 of your fallen comrades, men and women who gave their last full measure of devotion to keep our nation safe. And we will remember them. We will honor them, always. Your generation, the 9/11 generation, has written one of the greatest chapters of military service that America has ever seen. The executive order I'm about to sign will make life a whole lot more secure for you and your families and our veterans, and a whole lot tougher for those who try to prey on you.
On Saturday evening, the President shared a few laughs with journalists at the 98th Annual White House Correspondents Association dinner.
Good evening. I could not be more thrilled to be here tonight at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. It's a great crowd. They're already laughing. It's terrific. Our chaperone for the evening is Jimmy Kimmel, who is perfect for the job since most of tonight's audience is in his key demographic, people who fall asleep during Nightline.
On Monday morning, the President delivered remarks at the Building and Construction Trades Department Legislative Conference.
You represent the latest in a long, proud line of men and women who built this country from the bottom up. That's who you are.
In the afternoon,
the
President welcomed Prime Minister Noda of Japan to the White House, where they held a joint news conference after discussions on a wide range of bilateral, regional, and global issues, including the U.S.-Japan Security Alliance, economic and trade issues, and deepening bilateral cooperation.
And before I turn it over to the Prime Minister, I just want to warn the American press that the Prime Minister once considered himself a journalist, and instead he became a judo expert. He is a black belt, so if you get out of line, I've got some protection here. Mr. Prime Minister.
On Tuesday, President Obama made a secret, unannounced visit to Afghanistan, where he and President Hamid Karzai signed the Strategic Partnership Agreement that marks the beginning of the end of the war in Afghanistan and a commitment to continuing strategic cooperation between our two countries. Then, at 4:01 a.m. Afghanistan time, the President delivered an address to the American people.
Good evening from Bagram Air Base. Today I signed a historic agreement between the United States and Afghanistan that defines a new kind of relationship between our countries, a future in which Afghans are responsible for the security of their nation, and we build an equal partnership between two sovereign states, a future in which war ends and a new chapter begins.
On Wednesday, after 6 hours on the ground in Afghanistan and more than 30 hours traveling there and back, the president landed safely on the south lawn of the White House. On Thursday, the president got a jump start on Cinco de Mayo, Friday's celebration of Mexican heritage in Prague. To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
This is an incredible looking pumpkin. This is a nice looking cow right here. I have to say, like, just in terms of central casting, this cow right here, you could put him in a commercial or something. That's a good looking mascot.
It is. So I'm glad you like it.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad you like it because we got a small token of appreciation, and I know you get a lot of gifts, but
this is a keeper.
So this is a keeper right here. You get your very own Rocky.
This is going in the museum right here. The girls will like this one.
Kang Kang Teeter, West Wing Week.
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the president traveled to Virginia and New York to urge Congress to not let interest rates double on student loans and to introduce a to-do list for Congress. He also hosted the University of Kentucky Wildcats, the Fermi Science Award winners, and this year's Gershwin Award winners. That's May 4th to May 10th, or Teach Your Parents How to Tweet.
Use the hashtag, don't double my rate.
On Friday, the President and Education Secretary Arne Duncan traveled to Washington Lee High School in Arlington, Virginia, to speak with juniors, graduating seniors, and their parents about the need to prevent interest rates on federal subsidized student loans from doubling on July 1st and get a fair shot at an affordable higher education and learn the skills needed to find a good job.
The 3 classmates of yours that I met, they're all getting Stafford loans to help pay for college. 5 years ago, Congress cut the rate for these student loans in half. But here's the bad news. Uh-oh. On July 1st, less than 2 months from now, that rate cut expires, and interest rates on those loans will double overnight. That's not good.
In the afternoon, the president welcomed the University of Kentucky men's basketball team, the Wildcats, to celebrate their 2012 NCAA championship.
This team, when they won that championship on that court in New Orleans, they were jumping up and down, not saying, we did it, we won. They were saying, we're going to the White House, we're going to the White House, because they wanted to meet you.
On Monday, the president welcomed the 2011 Fermi Award winners to the Oval Office to recognize their leadership in the field of science.
That's pretty nice. You are. Yeah. It's about time you made something of yourself.
That's right.
But I tell people there's one thing that gives me pause about this award. When you're 81 years old and you get a Lifetime Achievement Award, you worry a little bit about what you're going to do next.
Well, you know,
it's a challenge.
It's a challenge, exactly. It's a little more incentive.
We're still at it.
You're still at it, and that's the key.
Later, the president hosted a conference call with more than 200 participants, including college student body presidents, mayors, and governors.
So tomorrow, the Senate is scheduled to vote on a bill that does make sense. It would prevent interest rates from doubling by closing a tax loophole for a certain category of corporations. That's the good news, but it's only the first step. I'm going to need your help. And the key reason we want to be on this call is you guys all have a tremendous reach in your communities. You've got to let your voices be heard. You've got to let Congress know that doubling student loan interest rates is unacceptable.
On Tuesday, the president traveled to the College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering's Albany Nanotech Complex in New York, a fully integrated research, development, prototyping, and educational facility that provides strategic support through outreach, technology acceleration, business incubation, pilot prototyping, and test-based integration support. The president unveiled a simple to-do list for Congress, composed of specific ideas for strengthening the economy and supporting middle-class families, and those families looking to get there.
Today I'm announcing a handy little to-do list that we've put together for Congress. You can see it for yourselves at whitehouse.gov. It's about the size of a Post-it note. So every member of Congress should have time to read it. Hopefully we'll just be checking off the list, just like when Michelle gives me a list, I check it off. Each of the ideas on this list will help accelerate our economy and put people back to work. Not in November, not in next year, but right now.
In the evening, the president delivered the keynote address at the Asian Pacific American Institute for Congressional Studies' 18th annual gala dinner in Washington, D.C.
Where every child born in America, regardless of race, creed, color, is going to have a chance. If somebody is suffering through injustice or inequality, we take up their cause as if it was our own. That's the story of America. And that's certainly the story of this community.
On Wednesday, the president hosted NATO Secretary General Rasmussen, where they discussed final preparations for the NATO summit in Chicago later this month. In the evening, as part of their In Performance at the White House series, the president and first lady hosted a concert in the East Room, honoring songwriters Burt Bacharach and Hal David, who'd been awarded the 2012 Library of Congress Gershwin Prize for popular song. To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
Don't fall in that one. I mean, there's a big debate in our family about you know, the optimal s'more. You know, some people are big on the burning, and others the golden brown thing.
Golden brown. Golden brown, you whip off the top, and then you have the gooey middle.
But then you put the gooey middle back in.
Oh, yeah, and then you get sort of...
See? This is the kind of debates we've been having. Grandma? Hi. Granddaughter needs a new cell phone. You know, she's got one of these. She's got one of these big old ones. How long you been? 25 years. What? Dad, how old are you, man? 47. Are you really? Man, I gotta eat what he's eating.
That's right. That's right.
Look at this young man. I'm telling you. Hey, is it exercise? Drinking water.
Yes, sir. Plenty of water.
Is that what it is? Yes, sir. Okay, I'll use that. You want me to pick up the check? I think I can handle this. That's on me.
Hi, I'm David Beckham, and welcome to West Wing Week.
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the president discussed his plan to help responsible homeowners in Reno, gave the commencement address at Barnard College, honored law enforcement officers, awarded the Medal of Honor posthumously for heroism in the Vietnam War, and continued to call on Congress to act on a to-do list. That's May 11th to May 17th, or Reach High and Hope Deeply. On Friday, the president traveled to Reno, where he sat down with Val and Paul Keller, who are saving about $250 a month by refinancing their mortgage through a program implemented by the Obama administration to help responsible homeowners.
You bought the house in 1998. Never missed a payment. Things have been going well. And then obviously what happened here in Nevada, generally in terms of property values, you know, socked you. How did you hear about the refinancing?
Well, actually, it was last October when you had your did your speech, and I heard it, and I thought, finally, there's something for people like us.
Right.
And so I called my bank, and they weren't going to start it until January. And she called me back, and we went 90 days, and it was done.
Pretty smooth.
Yes.
So, and you guys are now saving about $250. $250 a month. That's real money. That's money.
Yes, it is.
Following the meeting, the president delivered remarks that highlight the next initiative on the to-do list, which calls on Congress to cut red tape so that responsible homeowners across the country who've been paying their mortgage on time can feel secure in their home by refinancing at today's historically low interest rates.
This is not going to change the fact that you're underwater, but what it does do is you've got an interest rate that you're paying if you're keeping your mortgage up, right? And so that it will reduce your interest payments on the loan, which that's money in your pocket.
On Monday, the president traveled to New York City to deliver the commencement address at Barnard College.
Fight for your seat at the table. Better yet, fight for a seat at the head of the table. The trajectory of this country should give you hope. Previous generations should give you hope. What young generations have done before should give you hope. Young folks who marched and mobilized and stood up and sat in, from Seneca Falls to Selma to Stonewall, didn't just do it for themselves, they did it for other people. America needs you to reach high and hope deeply.
While in New York, The president also taped an appearance on The View. On Tuesday, the president delivered remarks at the National Peace Officers Memorial Service, an annual ceremony honoring law enforcement officers who were killed in the line of duty in the previous year. Later, back at the White House, the president welcomed Major League Soccer champions the LA Galaxy to honor their 2011 season and their MLS Cup victory.
This is the Miami Heat of soccer. I have to say I gave David a hard time. I said half his teammates could be his kids.
On Wednesday morning, the president traveled to Tailored Gourmet, a small business in Washington, D.C., where he held a roundtable discussion with Small Business Administrator Karen Mills and small business owners that will benefit from the next item on the Congress to-do list, legislation that gives a 10% income tax credit for firms that create new jobs or increase wages in 2012.
Actions by Congress and good execution by Small Business Administration can make a big difference. My message to Congress, let's go ahead and act to help build and sustain momentum for our economy.
Later that afternoon, the president awarded Specialist Leslie H. Sabo, Jr., U.S. Army, the Medal of Honor for conspicuous gallantry. Specialist Sabo received the Medal of Honor posthumously for his heroic actions in combat in Cambodia on May 10, 1970. To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
Put your right hand in the air, put your left in the air, wave it like you just don't care. Look at him and look at me, see how we go together perfectly. Hey, USA.
She has the key to the White House.
How did you get the key to the White House? I've been looking for this everywhere.
Her daddy brought it home for her.
Well, all right, I don't want you sneaking into my house.
Okay.
I'm Mark Perriott in Newton, Iowa. Welcome to the West Wing Week.
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the president announced a major new initiative on food security, hosted the G8 and NATO summits, gave the commencement address at Joplin High School and at the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, and traveled to Iowa to urge Congress to act on the to-do list that's May 18th to May 24th, or We Are Not Meant to Walk This Road Alone. On Friday, in anticipation of the start of the G8 summit, the president announced a major initiative to address hunger in Africa at the Symposium on Global Agriculture and Food Security.
When tens of thousands of children die from the agony of starvation, as in Somalia, that sends us a message we've still got a lot of work to do. It's unacceptable. It's an outrage. It's an affront to who we are.
Then, on only his third day in office, newly elected French President François Hollande arrived at the White House before the start of the G8 and NATO summits, where he sat down for discussions with the president in the Oval Office. Then it was on to the official welcome at Camp David for each of the leaders of the world's 8 largest economies. The 38th G8 summit at Camp David represents the largest single gathering of world leaders ever received at the bucolic presidential retreat, which was originally called Shangri-La and was built by the WPA. The world leaders expanded one of their working sessions to address their newly announced food security initiative. And at the end of the summit, the president spoke on the progress they made.
As all of the leaders here today agreed, growth and jobs must be our top priority.
That evening, it was on to Chicago for the second 2-day summit of the week and the first NATO summit hosted by the United States outside of Washington, D.C. Then the summit officially kicked off with a greeting ceremony and a working session that began with a moving tribute to honoring the dedication and sacrifice of NATO forces deployed around the world. On Monday, the president participated in the International Security Assistance Force meeting on Afghanistan with the leaders of 60 nations.
This will not mark the end of Afghanistan's challenges, obviously, or our partnership with that important country. But we are making substantial progress against our core objective of defeating al-Qaeda and denying its safe haven while helping the Afghans to stand on their own. And we leave Chicago with a clear roadmap.
That evening, the president headed south and west to Joplin, Missouri, where he delivered the commencement address at Joplin High School's graduation. After devastating tornadoes ravaged the Joplin area nearly a year ago to the day, the Joplin community's resilience and selflessness in the face of tragedy has continued to inspire our nation.
So my deepest hope for all of you is that as you begin this new chapter in your life, you'll bring that spirit of Joplin to every place you travel.
to everything you do. You can serve as a reminder that we're not meant to walk this road alone.
On Wednesday, the president traveled to Colorado Springs to give the commencement address at Falcon Stadium, where he saluted and shook the hand of every one of the 1,074 graduating Air Force cadets.
We know that the sovereignty of nations cannot strangle the liberty of individuals, and so we stand with the student in the street who demands a life of dignity and opportunity. We stand with women everywhere who deserve the same rights as men. We stand with the activists unbowed in their prison cells and the leaders in parliaments who's moving her country towards democracy.
Jeremiah Luke Jacob.
We stand with the dissident who seeks the freedom to say what he pleases.
Caitlin.
The entrepreneur who wants to start a business without paying a bribe. And all those who strive for justice and dignity. For they know, as we do, that history is on the side of freedom.
We have supported the Constitution of the United States.
On Thursday, the president traveled to TPI Composites, a wind energy manufacturer in Newton, Iowa, to highlight the need to invest in clean energy. His to-do list for Congress includes extending the production tax credit and an advanced energy manufacturing tax credit, both of which would support American-made clean energy manufacturing outfits like TPI.
I'm calling on Congress to extend tax credits that are set to expire at the end of the year for clean energy companies like TPI.
Before heading home, the president conducted a Twitter question and answer session right there at TPI, making him the first president to actually work within the confines of 140 characters, or less. To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
Perfect. All right. I'm the master. I'm the master tweeter.
There's 0 characters left. That's the perfect tweet.
That's the perfect tweet. What's it called?
A twoosh.
A twoosh.
A Twitter swoosh.
I twooshed. Good job.
You
Are you proud of me?
It was a record for twooshes. So.
It was. I'm the twoosh master.
Thank you so
All right.
much, sir.